Enter Talk Radio, your in to all things music.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott Robertson, your host, and a man who is celebrating 6 years in business for my company today, right now, on this Friday. Yeah, woohoo! And they said it couldn't last. They said it wouldn't last, and they said it couldn't be done. Well, like anyone else who's eloquently in that position, I want to deliver this message, and it goes like this: suck it. My company has been around for 6 years, rocking and rolling, and to everybody who didn't think it was going to be successful, kiss my butt. Thanks very much. And with me in the booth is Paul B. Paul, how is it going, my man?
Pretty good. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. When I told people I'm going to be a stand-up comedian, they all laughed at me. Well, no one's laughing now.
Like that famous ad, when I sat down at the keyboard, they all started to laugh. But when I started to play, it's a famous David Ogilvy ad. For all the marketing people who out there tuning to the show, they will know that ad. Very famous. Well, Paul, how's life? How are things?
Very good. Busy, staying busy, juggling a lot of things, moving in a bunch of different directions, but it's fun.
Excellent. Well, good. Well, people out there in Radio Land, here's how to reach me. I can be reached at the now 6-year-old Robertson Communications Corporation main offices, and you can reach me at my email, which is scott@robertson.com, or on the website, which is www.robertson.com, 2 M's like communications, and on our social channels, facebook.com/robertson.com, and Twitter @robertson.com, 2 M's. And now, of course, also on Periscope, you can see all the episodes, or the most recent episodes of this show, as you're staring at me talking into a microphone, which some people like to do. So there it is. We listen here on the show. That's what I'm saying. We do things and listen. And speaking of listening, this is episode 79 of the big program, and it's the episode that I like to call "Blaming Your Customer." You know, this is an important topic. This comes up from time to time. It certainly has in my career, and I in particular, I want to talk about Gibson. They're approaching the brink of bankruptcy, as everyone knows who's been paying attention to the news. And, you know, they just keep on stepping in it. And this week's comments from Henry Juskowitz, you know, really didn't make anything better. According to news sources, you know, he spent a lot of time in some interviews blaming the company's current financial troubles on, quote unquote, problems with the guitar retail industry and purists who don't want his new products but want all of Gibson's old products. Now, normally I would just cover this on kind of a quick, okay, here's a company that's losing kind of bit on the show. But this idea of blaming the customer is not unique to Gibson. It happens from time to time. And as marketers, we want to be aware of it. We want to look at it. And I want to talk about a few instances, you know, where it's happened and what could have been done differently and maybe would have certainly changed the course of some industries, I got to say. So we're gonna focus the whole show on this idea of blaming the customer for our own problems, and we're going to talk about who else is doing it. We're going to talk about why it's dumb. As you might imagine, I come down the side of saying it's dumb. It's really dumb. It's not just a little bit dumb. And of course, the things that you should be doing instead. And fret not. See, pun intended. We will be able to also hit who else is winning and losing outside of the industry in marketing communications. So we're going to have a lot of fun. So let's talk about this Gibson interview that kind of set off this idea. So there was an interview that appeared on Music Radar, and really, it's an interview with Billboard magazine, but it was picked up by Music Radar. That's what I'm citing right now. Juskowitz stated, the industry is stuck in a time warp, and the purists have a very loud voice on online forums. He goes on to say, kids today may think some music from the 50s is kind of cool here and there, but what other industry do you know that hasn't changed since the 50s? Then he says, those guitars from the 50s are what the purists want, but we have to have something new and exciting. Innovation is part of every business to some degree, but the guitar industry hates it. And he certainly does have a point, about the innovation thing. It's sort of, if you spent any time in the music products industry for, any time at all, you understand that it is an industry that is a bit resistant to change. It is an industry that is, that's sort of like, will sort of favor older technology to newer technology. But I do want to say that, blaming the customer is a really bad idea, because they don't have to, remember, like when you're on an airline and they say, we're really glad that you chose to fly this airline because you have a lot of other choices. Well, in the guitar industry, you have about 400 to 500 brand choices that you could make. There are so many guitar brands, and I'm talking all the way from the smaller luthiers doing custom stuff to, of the main mass production brands, there are at least 50 of those, and, Gibson, while great and having a fantastic, reputation, especially from some of its, earlier work, is not immune to people just kind of flipping you the middle finger and saying, well, we're moving on to Fender, or we're moving over to Gretsch, or we're moving, we're moving to Ibanez. We're moving to Paul Reed Smith. We're doing something else. And brand loyalty is very fragile. In 2018, I don't think brand loyalty has ever been any more fragile than it is right now. And when you say such incredibly stupid things like that, where you feel the need to blame, your company's financial troubles on the fact that, oh, well, I guess the people just won't buy what we're selling. To me, and again, this is just comes from my marketing mind. Wouldn't it be more constructive to say, marketing is about listening. It's not about, Henry Ford saying you can have any color Model T you want as long as it's black, and then kind of flipping the finger at the, at the customer, which is what Henry Ford did, in the early days. He's very famous for that quote. You can have any color Model T you want as long as it's black. In other words, tell your story walking. We make black cars, and if you want a car, you're gonna do it our way. And then and he had the power to be able to do that when the automobile was invented. He had something that everybody wanted. He the power, was with the manufacturer and not with the customer. Now today, in what we like to call 2018, that little magic trick is the other way around. Customers have all the power, and they have for quite some time, but they absolutely have all the power. They can unsubscribe to you. They can cut you completely out of their life by snapping their fingers together, and there's not a darn thing that you can do about it. But what you can do about it, that's the bad news. Manufacturers everywhere are like, well, we're at the mercy of the customer. Yes, you definitely are. But marketing can make the difference here, because in marketing, we're supposed to listen to the customer. We're supposed to figure out what they want. We're supposed to show them new things that maybe they didn't know they wanted, but tie them into reasons that they want them, that are their own reasons. If I've seen marketing fall down time and time again, it's because the company says, well, we have this product and it does X, Y, Z and X, Y, and all these kind of things. And the customer's like, well, maybe I can make that match with my story. But, like look at Apple. Do you know why Apple has more money than anybody else in the world? It's not because they make the best products. The HomePod product, many people will say, is quite inferior to other products. It's because they tie everything they're doing into their brand, into your story. They have created thousands of people who believe that they've sort of tied their self-esteem and their image and these people's personal feelings about themselves in with owning this logo on their products. That's what they've done. That's what they've done. Apple users define their world by this product, right? It's really important to know that. It's really important to understand that that's what people are buying when they're buying Apple stuff. They are sort of completing themselves, right? And it's the greatest, brand jujitsu that you can possibly do out there. I talk about it all the time. Nobody does it better than Apple. But now let's look at, Gibson, for example. There are certainly some people that create their, that part of their self-esteem is tied to playing a Les Paul guitar or a Flying V guitar or all these kind of things. But marketing is about listening, right? It's not about blaming the customer. If the customer all of a sudden wants, older, vintage reissue stuff, great. Your job as a marketer is to listen and respond. And of course, you want to push the boundaries. You want to push things and say, well, we're going to do some innovation. But to sit there and say that, the kids today don't want any type of innovation and they've rejected all your stuff. Maybe they rejected your stuff because your stuff sucks. Did you ever think about the fact that, the market is brutally cruel and brutally cold, but they are brutally honest, and they will tell you exactly what is going on. And maybe all of those designs don't have any appeal with customers, or don't have as much appeal as, people thought that they would. There are people selling guitars, certainly. Paul Reed Smith seems to be doing fine. Taylor Guitars is blowing out another banner year. There are plenty of people that are making money with the quote-unquote purists and doing just fine with innovation. Look at Taylor Guitars. They have a brand new type of bracing, for acoustic guitars that they announced at the NAMM show. Those people that buy Taylor Guitars are a cult. Apple's a cult. Is Gibson a cult? Maybe not. Maybe not, and maybe that is part of the problem. Maybe they're trying to stick in a bunch of different shiny new products when they should work on the brand, when they should just work on straight branding 101, and branding 101 has less to do with you and more to do with them than you think. Very important stuff. Very important to know that stuff, by the way. But let's talk about some other people. Gibson's not the only one. Who else blamed the customer? The record industry. By the way, the record industry blamed the customers for when Napster came along. Oh, well, now there's piracy. Everybody's just stealing music right and left. Let's blame the customer. Not only did they blame the customer, they literally sued the customer. The RIAA, maybe you recall, busted in on people, did raids, brought in lawsuits. Now that is. If you're in the business of creating long-term mutually beneficial relationships with your customers and you decide to sue them, then you are over the damn rainbow, in my opinion, in terms of, you are so far away from what marketing is supposed to be doing, you can't even see the line of what marketing is supposed to be doing, and the reason I know that is because the record industry were my clients for a long time, and I never saw such arrogance in my life, and I never saw such stupidity up close in my life than in those years when they would blame the customer. And all they had to do, the reason that people pirated music, in my opinion, is that the image of piracy is appealing. Remember we talked about image and self-concept, right? Here's a little Psych 101 for you. Are you ready? What happens when I give you the image of a pirate? Is that a positive image? How many major blockbuster movies have been made that star pirates? How many Halloween costumes are pirates? Right? Are you starting to get the message that perhaps the language that was used to describe what people were doing was a positive label? And that, again, not to, beat a dead horse here, but maybe that could have been fixed if they would have focused on the real problem, but instead they decided to sue the customer. They decided to blame the customer, decided to sue the customer, and you know who got all that business? Apple. That's right. They created, and they did listen to the customer and created a little service called iTunes. I'm sure you heard of it. They have about 65 million tracks right now. And right now, they are eating the record industry's lunch because they get people to pay them $9.99 a month so they can listen to everything the record industry could possibly regurgitate in a given year, or really throughout the history of music, 65 million tracks. That's a lot of tracks, people. But they did it to themselves. That arrogance, the fact that they were going to sue pirates. Well, pirates are like, well, go ahead, me hearties, but bring it on, You know who else, tries to blame the customer? Retailers. Retailers want to blame the customer, Oh, well, if it wasn't for all these people buying things on Amazon, we'd still be in business. If it wasn't for, all these, we can't stay in business because people don't want to shop here. Do you know why they don't want to shop here? Here's why they don't want to shop here. I'll give you the quick one for me. The reason they don't want to shop there is because you don't have as much stuff as Amazon. Odds are good when I go in to look for something, you don't have it. I have to drive in my car, park at your stupid place, go into your stupid place, get the stuff. That's a lot of my time, right? That's a lot of my time that I have to spend with you. And chances are it's going to be a disappointing experience for me. Whereas Amazon, I buy it, I don't even think about it. It shows up a day later or a couple days later. It's great. Listening to the customer, not blaming the customer. Now, who doesn't blame the customer in retail, right? The smart retailers are out there. Hate to throw the name out there again, but Apple, that's a good store. That's a store that listens to people. That's a store that provides services that people want. That's a store that does, it's not, it really isn't as hard as we make these things, And, I just want to submit to you that when this comes up sometimes, when we run out of reasons and we want to just look for somebody to blame. But, it's never going to work out. Blaming the customer is never going to work out for you, because our job as marketers is to build long-term, mutually beneficial relationships with people. And one way that you cannot build a relationship with people is when you blame them for your own stupidity, arrogance, and inability to see the forest for the trees here. Very, very important stuff. All right? Wake up call, people. If you're sitting in the conference room in marketing and you're seeing, something that's disrupting your business, start talking to your customers. Start listening to your customers. Maybe stop talking and start listening. Very, very important stuff. And you are smart because you are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back and we are going to see who else is winning and losing this week in marketing. Come on back. We'll see you.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on InterTalkRadio.com.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are so smart because you are tuned into May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, your host in segment 2, hanging out with Paul B today. How's it going, Paul?
Pretty good.
What do you think about the idea of blaming the customer? Did you read that Gibson interview this week?
No, I did not.
There's been a few, actually. There's been a few.
It just never stops. It just Gibson, it's just one mistake after another. It's pretty disappointing. A couple of years ago, I kind of got this feeling that something's seriously wrong with Gibson, and I was in a Guitar Center and I picked up. They had like a whole Gibson room, and I picked one up, and it had that that automatic tuner thing that they shoved on the back of their headstock. The robot tuner, and I was like, "This is awful!" Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, it completely destroyed the aesthetics of the guitar and any kind of like this classical thing that they were trying to do with it, and I couldn't even figure out how to work it.
And a fantastic example of my Jurassic Park logic.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
And it's classic because tuning a guitar is not hard. If you are, have the intelligence of a monkey, you can put a clip-on tuner on your guitar and you can just make this, you can go tune the pegs till the strings are green.
And if you're in a position to buy like a $4,000 Gibson custom shop, I think you know how to tune a guitar properly.
You probably know how, and you probably are gonna. I mean, it's
expect that thing to stay in tune for that kind of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of technology for something that people probably didn't ask for that much. Nobody I've ever heard that plays guitar is like, I love playing guitar, man, but tuning it's just such a pain in the butt. It's like it takes 25 seconds to tune your guitar.
Well, maybe if they at least figured out like a more elegant way of doing it somehow, put some kind of tension rods, hide the machine in the body of the guitar rather than on the back of the headstock, which completely throws off the weight and the balance of it and looks hideous. Maybe it would be cool, but I mean, yeah, it was goofy.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think that there's so many technology companies out there that are like, well, we can do this and we can't. Look what we can do and look what we can do.
But
and
maybe now I'm thinking maybe it was my fault. Maybe I was at fault. Maybe I just didn't know what I was what I was seeing. I should have really given it more thought and appreciated it. Sorry, Gibson.
There you go.
I was wrong.
They must have just signed up as a sponsor of the program. I could see it. Yeah, after me railing on them, I don't care. I'll still tell the truth. Hey, let's talk about who's winning and losing this week on the big show. Can we start off with Johnny Walker? Johnny Walker is a lovely. It's the world's best selling Scotch. To be quite honest,
I started off with Johnny Walker this morning.
There
Interesting.
you go.
Should ask.
Paul's already started up with some Johnny Walker, but. So Johnny Walker has decided that it wants to attract more women to drinking Scotch. And I kid you not, because I can't make up things that are this stupid, but they are introducing Jane Walker Scotch in a bid to attract women. Johnny Walker is rolling out a female version of its iconic logo in an attempt to draw more women to the world's best-selling Scotch and acknowledge a broader push towards gender equality. This is a terrible idea. And this is where, this is where you need someone in your marketing department that's not an idiot. It's really, really important to have at least one person that's going to stand up and go, this is a dumb idea. We're going to be destroyed because of this. You're already the world's best-selling Scotch. What part of your thought process tells you that women don't want to drink Johnny Walker because it doesn't have a woman on the front? Could you imagine anyone giving any less of a crap about what is on the bottle of Scotch that they're drinking? I mean, who thinks this stuff up? They're spending millions of dollars creating Jane Walker brand, which to me, that's offensive to women. It's like the little characters that you make to describe your brand doesn't mean that's the only gender that should be drinking the brand. at that, right? There's no connection between those things. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Losing, all kinds of losing. And if anybody from the Diego Johnny Walker family is listening, you need to get some smarter people working in your marketing department. You need to sit down with everybody that's in the marketing department and go, who thought this up? And whoever thought this up, needs to go do something else. Needs to not create any more ideas. And then you, as a company, you need to build in ways that you can not have stupid ideas come to market. I think that's really, really important because it's just, that doesn't make any sense at all, to anyone. So don't do stuff like that, kids. All right, I got 3 stories about guns that I want to talk about that are that made the news this week. First of all, an Oregon youth softball program made news this week on the Associated Press because it decided to move forward with its plans to raffle off an AR-15 style assault weapon as part of its fundraiser. The Statesman Journal reported Monday that residents have called the raffle tone deaf in the wake of the Parkland, Florida school shooting. You think? The Lady Dragons Fast Pitch Softball program of Dallas, Oregon, is hosting the fundraiser for the equipment, and they're doing this. So, yeah, don't do stuff like that. Don't do stuff like that. That is all kinds of dumb, right? Tone deaf is a great way to say that, but just sort of not aware of what else everybody else is experiencing in the world is another great way to say that. Insulate yourself from dumb ideas. Use softball program. Very important. That way, that's how you can stay out of the Associated Press, by the way, and not. By the way, the Associated Press, this story probably got picked up about 250 times in various news outlets. Got millions of eyeballs on this story. Just going to throw that out there. But, and I just read a story before the show started, actually, about the Senate saying, well, there's no time to debate guns this week because we got a banking bill that we need to debate. So popular, in the wake of the Parkland, Florida school shooting, people are looking for some sort of an answer, right? Because it feels like we just we're on this merry-go-round that doesn't end when it comes to this issue, and the case could be made certainly. So the Senate basically said, well, we're not gonna vote. A big reason they're not going to vote, of course, is because a lot of those people are bought and paid for. They are bought like the jury in The Untouchables when Al Capone was facing, tax evasion charges. They're as bought as all of those people were, guaranteed. And that's why they're not going to debate it because, that would stop the money from coming in. And I'm sure everybody is aware of that, right? It's not just me that sees that, the connection between those things. But in the wake of all that, obviously Congress losing, almost anytime I'm talking about Congress, it's going to be losing. I'll just spare you that. And, the Oregon thing is the Oregon softball program thing. That's definitely losing. But 2 companies have stepped up this week. 3 companies have stepped up this week to sort of self-regulate this a bit. And I think that's really kind of fascinating. Dick's Sporting Goods stepped up first this week and said that they are going to stop selling assault-style rifles. They're the nation's largest sporting goods retailer. They said they're going to stop selling assault-style weapons like the ones used in Parkland, Florida. Bravo. This is leadership. This is what leadership looks like, folks. The same way CVS, when CVS said we're not going to sell cigarettes because we believe it's, we sell products to make people healthy, and we know for a fact that this product kills people, right? Massive kudos to Dick's Sporting Goods for having the guts to go forward and be able to self-regulate and do that, right? Not because the government's coming for your guns or any of that crazy crap, but because they said, look, we might just be part of the problem here. So we're not going to be part of the problem anymore, and I say kudos to that. I think that takes a lot of guts. I think that, I don't even like to shop at Dick's Sporting Goods, but I'm going to shop there now. I'm going to shop there now because I like companies that have guts, and I like this move. I think it's very smart. Their shareholders may not reward them with, accolades and things like that. But I think it's a great PR move. I think it's a great move, and I think it's they're trying to change things. And Walmart, not to be outdone, check this out. Want to see the beginning of a trend? Dick's does that. Walmart raises the minimum age for all firearm purchases to 21, which you're kind of going, kind of should have been already, right? But anyway, but I guess not. So the company said in a statement Thursday it decided to review its firearm sales policy, quote unquote, in light of recent events. Going forward, we are raising the age restriction for the purchase of firearms and ammunition to 21 years of age. Good. And we're also removing items from our website resembling assault-style rifles, including non-lethal airsoft guns and toys. Our heritage as a company has always been in serving sportsmen and hunters, and we will continue to do so in a responsible way. Great leadership from Walmart. Great leadership from Dick's Sporting Goods, starting the trend. Way to jump on the trend, Walmart. Absolutely. You know damn well that your legislators aren't going to do anything to solve this problem. So it's up to the companies, right? The last place in the world that you thought you would look to see them making these kind of choices. And I mean, it gives me hope. I got to say, I'm filled with hope at the fact that companies, which are often portrayed as, cold, heartless, maybe not so smart organizations, can do things like that. It shows, man, there's some people behind this that care. And, the PR on this is fantastic, by the way. And also, there's one other company that jumped on the bandwagon. It was Kroger, which scares me a lot because Kroger is a grocery store. And, I might be missing something here, but they said they're not going to sell weapons and ammo either. But I'm like, you're a grocery store, and I'm frightened beyond belief if there is a grocery store in America where you can go in and buy an assault rifle. But apparently so. I mean, or maybe it could possibly mean another brand of the company. Kroger's a pretty big company too, with a lot of sub brands. So let's assume that that's what they're talking about. But again, all of that is winning. Obviously the Oregon thing is losing and kind of things, but all of those companies stepping up and self-regulating is very, very, very smart, very good, and absolutely the right PR move to do. Like I said, they can win customers just on being able to take a gutsy stance like that. And actually, it's the right way to do it, because if Congress passes a law, then all the people that are scared that you're going to steal, that you're going to come for their guns and stuff, are going to stand up and protest. And it's the Second Amendment and this kind of things. But if the companies self-regulate, well, now you just have good people doing things for the right thing, and there's nothing else to say about it. They're like, we sell them. We chose not to. Kiss my butt. It's like, so that's important. Oh, lots of winning there, by the way. Let's move to a losing one. Wells Fargo. Oh, my word. So after all the problem that Wells Fargo and company had with opening up accounts and having a corrupt sales culture, and the CEO had to resign. I mean, we covered that a lot of times on the show. So way too many times we covered that over the past year on the show. And you won't believe it, but Wells Fargo's wealth management unit has now attracted some Justice Department attention because it's doing an independent investigation of its wealth management business after whistleblowers from the bank cited sales problems. So some of the same things that were going on, the fees, opening up accounts, some of the same things that were prevalent in the sales culture of Wells Fargo certainly appear to be prevalent in the wealth management unit. And I'll tell you, Wells Fargo, if that comes out and becomes another big scandal, it's like Chipotle. It's like, how many times are the American people going to be willing to forgive you for doing the same thing wrong over and over again, right? We're always willing to forgive you, like with Chipotle. Okay, one food poisoning case. We get it. Somebody didn't wash their hands. Yeah, it's sad, whatever. but like on the 15th one, on the 15th and 20th one, and the ones that keep making the news, we're kind of like, man, what the hell is the problem over there? Right. And same thing with Wells Fargo. I mean, I just got to say that, I just don't know how forgiving people are going to be for this brand, going forward, if it continues to come up that their business practices are rooted in sort of greed and, not looking out for the customer. So anyway, one to watch, I guess. We certainly can take a look at that. The last thing I want to cover is Facebook. Facebook has made a change to its algorithm, and there's a couple stories that went out. There's one on Business Insider about a digital publisher called Little Things, and it had a big following on Facebook. It made all of its money off of the traffic that it kind of pulled from Facebook. But Facebook did a recent algorithm tweak, and it throttled the traffic of Little Things severely, and it caused its profit to plummet, the company says. And, Facebook tweaked its algorithm so that it could get more, in response to customer feedback and user feedback. And the user said, I want to see more things from my friends and family and less things from, publishers and the like. Now, here's why I want to bring this up, because there's been a lot of discussion in the media forums about this kind of thing. It reminds me of the old adage, or maybe I'm making this up on the spot, but here it is. Don't ever build your multi-million-dollar house on somebody else's land. When people talk to me about social media and they say, well, should we have a strong social media presence and these kind of things? Yes, you definitely should. But you want to amplify something that you yourself own, something that goes back to your land, to your, property. Because don't forget that Facebook is Mark Zuckerberg's property, right? And all he has to do is decide, I'm shutting down, and if your revenue is tied to Facebook, then you may have made a stupid decision. So don't do that. Make sure you understand that those things are great. Social media is great. They're fantastic as an amplifier. They're fantastic to listen to customers. They're fantastic to talk to customers. They're, all those kind of things. But you always want to build your house, your empire on your own land. That's how you're going to be winning. But Little Things, unfortunately, is losing. And you're listening to May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back. I'm going to show you what to do instead of blaming your customers in the next segment. We'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on InterTalkRadio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I'm still Scott, your host, and we just did Winning and Losing. Paul's with me. What tickled your fancy from the winning and losing this time, Paul?
Well, I thought it was kind of funny you mentioned Chipotle again because a couple of
My goodness.
Our crew here brought in Chipotle for lunch, and I told them that, like, don't you ever listen to Scott? You're taking such a huge risk. You're taking your life in your hands right now.
I know, man. I don't think I could eat there. It's just too much of a roll of the dice, man. Mm-hmm. Food poisoning's terrible. Yeah. What'd you think of winning and losing though? Did you anything in particular?
Good to hear some companies stepping up with the whole gun issue and just doing something that feels right to them without waiting for, Big Brother or Big Daddy to do something about it. So true.
I mean, can you imagine the pushback in that boardroom when somebody said, I don't think we should sell guns anymore. The nation's largest sporting goods retailer, it's got to be worth, millions, tens of millions of dollars to them, mm-hmm. Very high ticket item. And they basically say, so we're going to walk away from all of that revenue. And the CEO of the company said, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We're going to walk away from that. It's smart.
It's smart because in the law, I mean, if you can tell which way the wind is blowing, it's the goodwill you're going to purchase with that is worth a lot more.
I think so. I think so. Like I said, I commend those companies for doing that, and I think you're going to see the beginning of a trend that it's going to be more permissible for other companies to jump on it. And you already saw Walmart jump on it. You're going to see more companies jumping on the bandwagon,
yeah.
and maybe, just maybe, this industry can self-regulate its way out of this hole.
Right.
Because it does seem like that this particular AR-15 assault rifle, I mean, seems to be the gun that's used a whole hell of a lot, in every single one of these things. We all know it, to be that gun. So it's like, well, then let's at the very least make sure that if we have another one of these, God, praying that we don't, but if we have another one of these, maybe it could be a different gun next time,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's much better solution, but I was going to say the other thing is they're very smart to do this because they may very well be avoiding something coming down the pike. Say, very likely the government doesn't do anything or much about this in the coming months. It's very possible that the public is going to turn their anger against the retailers and start boycotting their stores and protesting outside their doors. And if you put yourself in front of that now and say, we're not, we want to make things better, you avoid that.
Oh yeah, they've already started doing that. Well, it'll be interesting. We'll keep everybody up to date on what's going on with that.
Yep.
Folks, we are this whole episode we're talking about blaming your customer. We're talking about Gibson blaming the purists for why their company's going out of business. We're talking about the record industry blaming the customer for stealing music and destroying the record industry. We're talking about retailers blaming Amazon for why they're all going out of business. That's not a good solution. It's not going to help you. It's not going to make you feel better. You're going to look stupid. I'm going to think you're stupid. It's not going to work out for you. So don't do stuff like that. And I'm going to give you 5 tips of what to do instead of blaming your customers. Number 1, marketing's number 1 job: listen and respond. That's what we do. We listen. Market tells us they want something. We pay attention. We figure out a way if we can respond. That's what Apple does. The people were saying for years, and they were saying, well, we don't want to buy albums. We don't want to. We can't take. We can't take these things with us. It's bulky. We can't. There's many problems. Apple is great at listening. Apple, and certainly Apple was back in the day, extremely great at listening. And they said, well, why does it have to be this way? Sometimes it takes people from outside the industry to innovate and create, new solutions. But marketing should always be listening and responding. And I don't necessarily mean like annoying surveys. I could do an entire show on surveys, but nobody wants to fill out your surveys, right? Nobody wants to. And the people that do are, you have to question their motives, right? And you have to say, why are they giving us this feedback? The reason they're giving you feedback is because it suits their interests. And if they have enough interest in doing something, then they're not just like a neutral party that you're asking. They're probably somebody that's already angry in some way, and it's going to skew your results. And I know plenty of companies that have gotten a bunch of angry surveys back, made a bunch of changes, and now you're just playing to the bottom, the bottom part of the bell curve. The people that were pissed off at you anyway, and are probably just likely to be pissed off with you, moving forward. And you're ignoring that big fat part of the bell curve, which is, we were pretty happy with whatever you were doing. We were pretty happy. We didn't say anything about it, and we're too busy to fill out your survey, of course, but we're pretty happy generally, And then you've got the people, on the other part of the bell curve that are really, really happy, and they're not going to fill out your survey either because they're really happy, and just don't bug those people so they can stay happy. That's what I would say. But when I say listen, what I mean by that is, when you have those opportunities, trade shows are a fantastic opportunity to listen. BandLab, my client, was there showing their new Harmony guitars and amps, and all they did, and their Teisco guitar pedals, and all they did through the course of the show was listen to people. They listened to retailers. They listened to guitar players. They had artists that came over from the mono side of things. Oh, what do you guys think about this amp? This kind of thing. And they took copious notes, and they just listened, and they just listened and listened and listened. And that's not a focus group, right? You're getting people's real response because they're on the trade show floor, and they could tell you anything. They could tell you to go pound sand, or this sucks, or I had a Harmony guitar and it ended my marriage. I mean, they could tell you anything. But the bottom line is, find your ways to listen. Marketing should already have its channels to be able to listen, but make sure that you are listening and responding. It is what we do. It's very, very important. And if you're listening and responding, Paul and I were just talking about the robot guitar from Gibson, right? You spent all this money, you spent thousands of dollars to put all this technology on, on the tuners of a guitar, right? But I'm not aware of a single guitar player in the history of my music career who's ever given a flying crap about tuning the guitar. It's super easy to do. You plug a tuner in on your pedal board, or your amp, or a clip-on tuner, and you tune your guitar. And if it takes you more than 30 seconds, then you should be tested for something. You should consider some sort of a psychological, or a mental test, because that's an easy thing to do, people. Tuning, it doesn't require thousands of dollars worth of technology to automatically do it for you. It's all the technology in the world put against a problem that nobody had and nobody wanted to solve, right? And we could do an entire show on problems that nobody had that technology is going to solve that nobody ever had. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? That old Jurassic Park logic that Scott Robertson always talking about. Been talking about it for decades now. Very important. Listen. Starts with listening, and then respond. Very important. Number 2. Here's another thing you can do besides blaming your customer. Change. Don't be afraid to stop doing things. Don't be afraid to, when I was working for the record industry, boy, they just thought they knew everything. They thought they were the smartest people in the room, and baby, they let you know it. And so I would often suggest, as a consultant in those days, I would say, well, why don't we try to do some other things? Why don't we do this? Oh, well, yeah, Scott, it's just, we've got these models in place and these processes, and this bullshit. And it's like, it's fear. It's fear. You're afraid to change, right? You're human. I get it. Believe me. I spent a lot of time studying psychology. I know what fear looks like. That's what it is. Don't be afraid. I give you permission not to be afraid, to stop doing things and start doing the other things based on learning. One of the coolest things that I always thought that we did at NAMM after the NAMM show is we got in a room and we analyzed the last show and we said, look, what are we going to stop doing? What are we going to start doing? What are we going to do? I mean, it takes guts to do that. It takes guts to take something successful and say, well, maybe we should change, I mean, we just talked about Dick's Sporting Goods and the AR-15 assault rifles, right? It takes guts to stand up in that room, man, and say, look, we are going to stop selling this stuff. We are going to stop putting, we're not going to be the channel for this anymore. That kind of thing. It takes a tremendous amount of guts. It's a great thing, but don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And don't think that any other reason that people have about change isn't tied to fear, because it always is. Human beings have been afraid since we've existed, right? It's some people say our first emotion was fear, and we're still afraid to this day, even if we don't outwardly express it or say anything. We're still afraid. So the fear stops people from wanting to change. And the change is what you could do to save your business instead of blaming your customer. Really important. Number 3 thing that you can do, communicate. Communicate. Gibson talks about, for example, the purists and the fact that they only want guitars from the 50s and 60s. Well, great. Last I checked, you're a guitar company, right? So why don't you make those? Why don't you make stuff that's like those? Why don't you find a way to make those? Why don't you communicate with us about your desire to make those things for those people? And I mean, the dangerous thing about Henry's comments, by the way, were the fact that, have you ever had a room full of guitar players who could agree on tone or guitars? If you have, you need to show me that video, because guitar players couldn't agree on the 10 Commandments if Moses was buying drinks. The bottom line is we all want different tone. Some people like Les Pauls. Some people like a Flying V. Some people like a Strat. Some people like a Paul Reed Smith. Some people like something else. Some people like a fusion guitar that they can plug their iPhone into. Guitar players are anything but predictable and anything but falling into a box. So I refuse to believe that there are a bunch of people out there that say, well, now maybe if you only look at Gibson forums about Gibson users and Gibson, things, then yeah, then absolutely those people can be. But when you start to, is that how you're looking at your market? You're just looking at people who bought from you before? Apple doesn't do that. Apple doesn't look at just the people who've bought from the company before. They look at how do we get everybody? How do we absolutely get everybody? How do we make something for everybody? That kind of thing. Communicate. Very, very important to, instead of blaming your customers, communicate with them. Not just listen with them, but also express, your desire to still be in their lives, to still, be in their lives. And because when you make comments like these kind of comments, it ticks people off. It doesn't endear them to your brand. It doesn't, you haven't opened up a channel of communication. You've just sort of made people angry. And these are the people who could possibly save you, from bankruptcy. In the record industry case, those people, they sued people. It's like, now those people hate you, right? Not only are they going to burn you in the press, and they're going to burn you, by the way, in the press, they hate you. Retailers that outwardly speak out against their customers and that kind of thing, whatever. They already have replaced you, but even if they hadn't, you're not going to win anybody back that way. Communication, very important. Number 4 thing to do instead of blaming your customer is to blame yourself. It's said that the only thing you can truly control or change is yourself and your own behavior. It's much healthier to be able to, focus that blame back on yourself. And not like spend time, like in a Catholic sort of way, just beating yourself up. But I'm saying, when I'm saying blame yourself, I'm saying accept the responsibility for what's happened, and then make an action plan for what we're going to do about it. Yeah, this is the environment we're facing. Yeah, this is what we're figuring out. But and we're at fault for some of that, right? We took some risks and created some crazy stuff out there that people didn't want, and that kind of thing. But take the blame yourself. You're going to have far greater credibility and trust with your audience when you do things like that. And once again, it is the only thing that you can truly control or change is going to be yourself. So important. The number 5 thing you can do instead of blaming your customers is to evolve. Is to tradition is fantastic, right? And tradition is great, but staying profitable and relevant and in business is greater than that. And I think all companies evolve, right? You don't have to ask permission to evolve your business. It should be an accepted thing that we're not going to blame our customers. We're going to listen to them. We're going to respond. And when the customer changes on us, and they're going to change, absolutely. When dark denim is no longer in. I read a story today or this week that said that dark denim is no longer in, and like light denim is in. It's like, who the hell decides that, by the way? But it's like, if they don't want dark denim, then give them light denim. If they don't want denim at all and they want, polyester pants with big flowers on them, do that. That's your job as a marketer. That is your job. It's not your job to judge what people want or don't want. It's your job to deliver what they want. That's what marketing is, folks. So what have we learned today? Blaming the customer, it isn't going to work. Gibson, others, listen up. They are who they are, and it's your job to satisfy them, not the other way around. There are plenty of other things you can do once you have the right mindset. I think if you do that, you're going to be on your way to doing better things for them and doing some truly amazing, great marketing, and it's important that you do that. That's it for me, marketing fans. Until next week, this has been Scott Robertson, host of May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Media. We'll see you again next week with a fresh show. Rock on. Later.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?